Let's bring in our Faith Nation political panel, editor and publisher of Inside Elections, Nathan Gonzales, and host of the CBN Podcast, Navigating Trump 2.0, John Stolnis. Gentlemen, welcome. Nathan, let's start with the filibuster rule. Today, Speaker Mike Johnson actually warned against using the nuclear option. What are the chances that the Senate invokes it?
Well, there's been bipartisan concern about getting rid of it because while avoiding a filibuster and only needing a majority when you're in power sounds like a good idea, both parties realize that when the tables are turned and you're not in power, then that just makes it easier for the other side to do more of what they want to do. So on one hand, I would say that it's likely that the filibuster goes away because typically when President Trump wants something and he needs Republicans to do it. They get behind him and they do it. Specifically, though, he still needs 51 votes to do this, and he only has 53 in the Senate. Usually, if he's trying to strong arm somebody, he threatens to primary them. But Senator Tom Tillis of North Carolina has already decided he's not running for re-election, or Mitch McConnell of Kentucky is not running for re-election. So those threats may not hold up. And then some senators aren't even up for re-election, like Lisa Murkowski of Alaska or Langford of Oklahoma. So I'll bet slightly that it goes away, but yet there's still work to be done.
Yeah. John, there are whispers here in Washington that the president could extend an olive branch of sorts to hold a meeting with Democrats. How likely is that to happen?
I don't think it's very likely at this point. The White House is kind of pushing back on those reports a little bit. They just don't want to use this off-ramp right now to get out of this government shutdown. Typically, this is what you see, how a government shutdown ends. The leaders of both parties, they come to the White House, they hash out the differences, they meet somewhere close to the middle-ish, and everybody, and each side tries to claim some victory here. And the White House usually is the place where that happens. But they think that they have the advantage here, right? These SNAP benefits are going away for however long the government remains shut down. You've got the Obamacare subsidies that are happening, and you have these other pain points, like you're going to have delays at airports. You're going to have these other issues, furloughed workers continuing to go without paychecks. And they believe that they are winning the argument that it's the Senate Democrats who won't pass the House CR from last September. That's the reason Americans are feeling this pain. And so they're not open to using this off-ramp at the moment, at least not yet. Now, next week, we'll see when more of these things really start to hit home, as these stories build and we find more things that are affected by a government shutdown that are going to affect people in other parts of the country that are not federal workers. We'll see whether or not the blame game even matters at that point and whether the American people just start to blame Washington as a whole.
Yeah, we will see. We say that a lot here in Washington. Switching gears, guys, major elections are taking place across the country next week, including one in Virginia's gubernatorial race, the New York City mayoral contest as well. The Democratic candidates appear to hold comfortable leads in the polling in both of those races. Nathan, to you, how much can we read into these two elections?
Well, the New York City race is getting a ton of attention, particularly because of the likely new mayor. But we have to remember that's a Democratic city electing which type of Democrat they want. And Republicans are going to say that Mondami is the new head of the Democratic Party. We'll see if that works. But I'm more focused on Virginia and New Jersey, not necessarily because of who's going to win. Democrats are expected to win both of them, but the margin, because one of the key questions is, does the Trump coalition turn out to vote in elections when Trump is not on the ballot? And so these are the first two big tests to see where that happens. And Virginia has that little bit of an extra federal election beltway twist because there are a disproportionate number of federal workers who have either been impacted by DOGE earlier this year or the shutdown and layoffs now that we're experiencing. So Virginia is going to be one of the two big races to watch.
Yeah, we'll be watching. Let's talk about President Trump's meeting this week with Chinese President Xi Jinping. The two agreed to a one-year trade truce. John, do you think this will lead to a broader agreement, or do you expect a trade war to pick up again?
It sounds like, at least for the moment, that the trade war is thawing a little bit. The president and has agreed to reduce tariffs on Chinese goods by 10%. So I think the average is going to fall to around 47% on most Chinese goods. China has said they will start buying soybeans from U.S. farmers again, which has been a big hit to U.S. farmers here in the U.S. this year. And rare earth minerals, the China is going to start sending them to the U.S. as well, putting off a moratorium on that. And so You're going to see these different things play out over the next few weeks as the trade deal gets firmed up. What's really going to drive this thing, I think, is the fentanyl issue. The United States agreed to lower the tariffs by 10%, mostly because China agreed that they were going to work hard on stopping fentanyl from leaving China, the substances used to make fentanyl from leaving the country. And if China doesn't hold that end of the bargain up, I think you could see the president reinstitute tariffs or at least bring them back up to where they were, maybe increase them, and then all bets are off at that point. What China would do in retaliation, cutting off soybeans, cutting off rare earths, and there are other levers that both sides can continue to pull. But for now, it looks like there's a truce and the markets are responding favorably. American farmers are responding favorably. So everybody's breathing a little sigh of relief right now.
Yeah. All right, John and Nathan, thank you guys. Have a great weekend.